Joe, it's so great to meet with you, and your story is remarkable. I've spoken to so many people here at CPAC. You're very unique in what you've done and your background. For the people that don't know who you are, give the folks a background of who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I appreciate Raj, and I appreciate you guys doing this interview today. So my name's Joe Mitchell. I'm a state representative from Southeast Iowa. I got elected at the age of 21. I'm 23 now, serving my second term in the Iowa House. And I've recently started a group called GenZ. And it's an organization, it's a nonprofit that helps recruit, mentor, and empower the next generation of conservatives to run for state and local office. Because we've realized through this past year with COVID-19 how important it is that we have good people on our city councils, good people that are mayor, good people on our school boards to be making the right decisions for our kids and for our families. And so I created this organization with 4 other state representatives from across the country, 2 from Florida here, 1 from West Virginia, and 1 from New Hampshire. And we're dedicated to helping the next leaders, the next generation of conservatives in this country to be able to run for state and local offices, which are so important to everything we do every day. And so we're here at CPAC, we have a booth here, and we're excited, we're talking to people, we're getting people interested and intrigued in what we're doing, because nobody's ever seen this, right? We've had, Turning Point, we've had college Republicans, young Republicans, great groups that help out with the grassroots and get people initially involved in the conservative movement. But what I saw is there was a void that wasn't being filled. Actually taking those leaders of those organizations, the cream of the crop, and having them run for office and make a real difference, turn that activism into action. And so that's what we're doing here at CPAC with GenZ.
So let me ask you a personal question here. You're 21 years old when you got elected.
Yeah.
So you started running for that. I don't know how far before that.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to put myself, I have no idea what your background was, but somewhere along the line you said, I'm going to run for office.
Yeah.
And then you must have shared that with someone or some people, and you're young.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people were encouraging, but I assume there were some people that didn't think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Exactly. Okay, good. That's what I thought. So here's what I want to ask you. When people try to dissuade you from doing what you want to do, and even more important, when you had the self-doubt about should I even do this? Do I have the experience? Do I have the background? Why do I think that this is even a good idea? No one else seems to be doing it. When you had those thoughts, how do you deal with those thoughts?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a story. So when I first decided I wanted to run, I went working at the Capitol 4 years before I decided to run. So I started up there at 17 as a page.
In your state?
In my state, in Iowa. I started up as a page in the Iowa House. And so it's like an internship for high school seniors. So I was 17 years old and worked up there and fell in love with it. Fell in love with the process, fell in love with, being able to help the constituents and the citizens of our state and make it a better place, right? And so at that time, I decided to go to Drake University. It's based in Des Moines, so I can continue to work at the Capitol and serve in that capacity. So I worked in the state Senate for a few years. I worked in the governor's office, worked in Senator Joni Ernst's office in DC. And my junior year of college, I was 20 years at the time, and my predecessor, who had been my state representative for 24 years, decided he was going to retire about a month before the filing deadline. And so at that point, I had this moment where I was like, this is my time to run, because it could be another 24 years before I had the opportunity. And so at that point, I had an initial conversation with my predecessor, who we're very good friends now. He's a mentor of mine now. But my first conversation with him, he told me, he said, Joe, you're too young. You need to get a wife. You need to get kids. You need to build a career, and you got your whole life ahead of you. And so, that was very discouraging, right? And so come to find out, himself and the party already had somebody picked out they wanted to run, that I ran against in the primary and obviously won. But everyone else I talked to, former bosses of mine and stuff, said, Joe, you got to do it. Because they said, if you lose the primary, so what? You move on with your life. Nobody's going to, just remember you as a loser. It's a primary in the state representative race. It's not a huge deal. You know what I mean? And so what happened was I entered the primary. I knocked on thousands of doors across my district, made hundreds of phone calls to folks that requested absentee request forms. And I ended up winning that primary by 100 votes. And I won that 100 votes because I was the only one who went out and actually talked to the voters on their doorstep and door knocked. my predecessor was backing. That was the front runner, big name in my district, and she didn't knock a single door. She didn't make any phone calls. Just thought it'd be handed to her. Thought, how is a 21-year-old ever going to beat me? And I went out there and I put the hard work in. And that's my message to all these young people, is that if I can do it, you can do it. And that's the same exact story from all the other people involved in this organization. Was there was doubts because they were young, and they went out and they worked harder than everyone else.
So when first, I acknowledge you and I commend you, not just for the hard work, but for the outcome that you earned through that hard work. So while you're doing that, you're knocking on the doors, you're going door after door. Was there any point in time during that process, okay, the Republican Party is backing someone else, this man you work for, respect, is backing someone else. Sure, you had these other people saying what they said that you should run, but was there any point in time where you thought to yourself, like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
You did? And what did you do when you had that thought?
Every day when I would wake up and about to go knock doors, I did have that thought. I said, is it even worth it to go knock on these couple hundred doors today? Because it's a pain in the butt, first of all. Most people are kind of annoyed that, somebody's at their doorstep. But what made it worth it were the people that wanted to engage with you, that wanted to have a discussion with you. I remember one of the stories that sticks out most to me from when I was campaigning in the primary was that I knocked on these people's door, and the wife came to the door, and she was probably mid-80s or so. And so I told her I was running for state representative, and she said, well, I think my husband wants to talk to you. So I go into the living room, and it was a guy, and he was in his 90s. And he served in World War II. He'd been a pastor for 60 years in the community. Just a great story, just a great American story. And so he had terminal cancer. And so this was in April of the primary, and he had terminal cancer, and he said, I'm not going to live another 2 months. But he said, you're going to be the last person I vote for. And so I remember him telling me that, and that was obviously, very touching. And so the general comes around, and I'd won the primary already, and I went back to that door, and he had passed away. And so stories like that, where I got to sit in this guy's living room with him for 45 minutes, that's what makes me want to do what I want to do, is because of his story and the passion he had for this country and the dedication and the service he had given to this country by fighting in World War II and serving as a pastor in the community and as a cornerstone for people for that many years. And so that makes me want to get up each and every day to do what I do.
That's a powerful story, and Josh is watching this video. Josh is a friend of mine, and he's 22 years old, and he's in South Florida, and he wants to run for mayor.
Okay.
So Josh, here you go, man. Give me the website name.
RunGenZ.com.
Look, RunGenZ.com. They got two of their co-founders are actually in Florida. So I want to change gears for a moment. So the fabulous story, right? I'm so inspired by what you and your team are doing. I want to change gears. I want to talk to leaders.
Yeah.
So it seems like you think that Gen Z has something distinct to offer.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should say young people has something distinct to offer. It seems like you think that there's something that they have to offer that would provide immense value over and beyond what we have right now in our current leadership, our current strategy, et cetera, et cetera. So what is it that you think that young people have to offer, and why do you think that they have that to offer?
Yeah. Well, Raj, I think there's a ton of organizations out there that are great, that offer training programs, right? Campaign training programs and materials to be able to do all those kinds of things. What we do is set you up with a mentor that's your age, that's already an elected official, that just went through what you're going through, 2-4 years prior to that. And so, we're up front, and we know what's going on. We've been through the struggles you've been through, and it's almost like a big brothers, big sisters for politics is what it is. And so you get somebody that's up close and personal that you get to talk to about your campaign and strategize with, right? And lean on, that has been through the same struggles you've been, through because of your age.
And so you've got this system in place to accelerate folks that want to actually be successful. And why do you think that's important? Because look, we got all kinds of people running for office in their 40s, 50s, successful people, people that are already accomplished in their businesses and so on. Why are you so passionate about actually having young people get connected? What do you think that young people bring to the table in leadership that goes over and beyond what we have right now?
This is what I was saying. Young people have the time and the energy to devote towards their constituents and the policy issues that matter. Because I don't have a wife and kids right now, I could go out every night and knock doors for hours, right? Because I didn't have those prior obligations. And so I think that's what the unique thing is about young people, is they have the time and energy to devote towards their district, because that's who you're married to at the time. You're married to your constituents, right? And that's how you got to look at it, because that's how you're going to perform the best. That's how you're going to be able to, give everything you can to make sure that you're the best representative for your district.
That's so well said. And so if you're watching this video and you are inspired by what you heard, by who you're looking at, please connect with this organization. We're going to list them on defendourunion.org. We're going to list them on defendflorida.org. Get involved with these guys, back them up, join their organization, donate to them, spread the word to anyone you know in your community that wants to run for office anywhere in the country. I'm going to offer another thought for your consideration. So if you're watching this video right now as we're sitting here, we're taping this on an Android device. You might be watching this on an iPhone or computer or Android. It doesn't matter what. Here's what I'd like you to think about. Today, the world communicates on devices and technologies that were built by people this guy's age. So if you're on a Windows computer, Bill Gates was this age when he created Microsoft. Facebook, Zuckerberg, when he created Facebook, was this man's age. No matter what you think about these people that I just mentioned, the fact is you're using their technology right now to be watching this. So why I bring that up? There's something distinct about a younger generation that brings thinking to the table that up until then wasn't on the table. Zuckerberg, Gates, the Google founders, all were in an ecosystem where there were much older people that were running the established technology at the time, whether it be Xerox, IBM, and so on. These young folks had an idea, they acted on the idea, and now they are ruling and dominating the way the planet communicates. So I want to encourage you, Joe, not only does your generation bring time and passion and ability, but equally important, you're bringing a viewpoint that often is just missed by people that have been doing this the way they've been doing it for year after year after year. And it is incumbent on us to figure out what's missing that we haven't seen, that will turn and pivot our movement so that we can really bring liberty, freedom, salt, and light to the planet. So Joe, I acknowledge you for the work you're doing and your team, and thank you for talking with me, and let the folks know again how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, thanks Raj, and thanks for the interview today. It's been incredible. So if you want to contact us, please contact us at our website, which is www.rungenz.com. That's www.rungenz.com. Follow us on social media. Instagram is rungenz.com or at rungenz. Facebook's at rungenz, and Twitter is at rungenz.
Awesome. And you need to get on something called Cloud Hub.
Okay.
Cloud Hub. So I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff Brains at Cloud Hub. Cloud Hub is not just another social media platform. It is the next generation of thinking about how to influence our planet digitally. Cloudhub.com. Go over there. You'll find Defend Florida there. Open up an account. It's free. It's phenomenal. And he's a major sponsor here at this event. Thanks, Joe, for talking with me.
Yeah, thanks, Raj.